Today we're talking about why staring at your PNL is the fastest way to ruin your trading. Class is in session, and I need you to pay attention because this lesson will save you years of pain. Here's the thing. The moment you start chasing the money instead of reading the market, you've already lost. When your eyes are glued to that profit and loss column, you stop seeing the chart for what it is. Every tick becomes personal validation or a personal insult. You're not analyzing anymore. You're begging the market to make you feel better. Picture this. You have a market structure shift right in front of you, but instead of noticing, your brain is screaming, just get me back to break even. You miss the reversal forming because you're too busy panicking over the number of blinking red on your screen. That's not trading, that's reacting. And reacting is how accounts die slow and painful deaths. The pros, they don't do that. On institutional desks, nobody's obsessing over today's gain or loss. They're asking, did we execute the plan? Did we stick to probabilities? They know a single day means nothing over thousands of trades. They're scientists studying a process, not adrenaline junkies watching numbers flicker. Chasing money turns rational people into an emotional mess. You'll take setups you'd normally skip. You'll widen your stops. You'll close trades too early because you're terrified of losing a small win. The irony is the more you cling to the cash, the further it slips away. Zoom out. One red day doesn't matter in the context of disciplined trading. Obsessing over your P&L is like checking the scale every hour at the gym. You're ignoring the bigger transformation that happens over time. Your future P&L is the sum of hundreds of consistent, disciplined decisions, not one desperate click to win it all back. So here's the takeaway. Stop treating your P&L like a mood ring. The number isn't your identity. It isn't your worth. Take your eyes off the dollar signs and put them back on the chart. The market is telling you a story. Listen to that, not your wallet. And if you can't, you're not trading. You're just watching the numbers blink until they break you. Now let's get into the truth that nobody wants to hear. Money is only a byproduct. Trading isn't about stacking cash. It's about making accurate probabilistic decisions over and over until the edge plays out. When you obsess over your P&L, you're worshiping the scoreboard instead of playing the game. Think about chess for a second. The grandmasters don't stare at the captured pieces tray and panic because they're down a pawn. They study the board. They're thinking 10 moves ahead, planning sequences, watching patterns develop. Your P&L is that captured pieces tray. It tells you what's already happened. It says nothing about what comes next. When you enter a trade with dollar signs in your eyes, you start forcing the market to validate you. You're not asking what is price actually doing. You're demanding prove me right so I can feel good. And the market doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't owe you a win. Here's the secret of consistent traders. They know losses are a part of the math. They can take a red day, even a red week, and not flinch because they're not grading themselves by that single outcome. They're grading themselves by whether they executed their process correctly. If you can detach from your money and judge yourself on your execution, you start to build resilience. I see too many traders who take notes, watch webinars, and even backtest, but the moment they're live, they throw the process out the window because they're staring at their P&L like it's a lifeline. That's like studying for a test all semester, then showing up and guessing every answer because you're scared of failing. The prep was useless if you abandoned it under pressure. Stop asking, how much can I make on this trade? Start asking, does this setup meet my rules? Does it align with my edge? Is my stop where it should be? If you execute well, the money follows. Every consistently profitable trader I've met says the same thing. When they stopped caring about money, that's when the money came. And that's the mental shift I want for you. Take the focus off the cash, put it on the process, on pattern recognition, on executing with discipline. The cash is the scoreboard. But you don't win by staring at the scoreboard. You win by playing the game better than everyone else. Here's where most traders completely fail. They tie their self-worth to every tick on that chart. One candle goes red, suddenly they're a failure. A green spike, now they're a genius. That emotional whiplash isn't trading. It's emotional self-harm dressed up as analysis. You've got to understand the market isn't a grading system for your intelligence. It's not your therapist. It doesn't clap when you're right or boo when you're wrong. It's just math, liquidity, and probabilities, playing out in real time. The second you start looking at every win as validation and every loss as a personal insult, you've already handed your edge to your emotions. Here's another layer people don't talk about. Focusing on P&L warps your decision-making in subtle ways. You'll close trades too early because you're scared of losing the little green that you've got. You'll widen stops on losing trades, hoping that the market bails you out. That's not strategy, it's fear in disguise, and fear doesn't pay. The traders who last don't measure themselves by individual trades. They measure themselves by discipline over thousands of trades. That's why some hedge funds don't even show their new hires their P&L at first. They want them focused on the process and risk parameters, not the dollar amount. They know that if you stay mechanical and stick to your edge, the P&L will eventually tell you the right story on its own. Stop thinking of every trade as a payday. Start thinking of every trade as a single data point on a massive ongoing experiment. A trade that hits your stop loss but you followed your rules perfectly is a win. because it proves your process is intact. A trade that makes money but you ignored your setup is a failure because your luck isn't repeatable. Detach your ego, detach your self-worth. The P&L will take care of itself once you've mastered the only thing you can control, which is your execution. Money is the loudest distraction in this game. The more you stare at it in your account balance, the less you actually see the market. And if you're only here to make the cash, you're going to make desperate, sloppy moves that feed the market your money like an ATM with no PIN code. Stop treating trading like a daily paycheck. It isn't. It's a craft. It's statistics. It's discipline and emotional control wrapped in a market that doesn't care about your bills or your feelings. The money? Well, that's just a byproduct of doing the craft well over time. Look at the best athletes or artists. A basketball player doesn't count dollars mid-game. He's locked on the rim, the form, the rhythm. A musician doesn't think about streaming revenue while she's in the booth. She's inside the music. For us, the chart is the canvas. The only thing that matters is executing the edge you spent months or years refining. Here's a line you should tattoo on yourself. Trade to trade well, the money follows. If your setups are clean, your risk is managed, and your emotions are stable, the numbers on the screen will take care of themselves. But if you reverse it, if you chase dollars first, you'll sabotage every good habit you're trying to build. And remember, your value as a trader isn't measured in your last win or loss. It's measured by your consistency when nobody's watching and by your ability to stay calm when everything is flashing red. The pros know this. They want pure focus on process. So today, decide that you're done being hypnotized by your P&L. Focus on your edge, your execution, and your discipline. Let your account balance be the quiet scorekeeper, not the voice in your head. Because the second you stop caring about the money, ironically, that's when it starts to grow.